we're starting to see a little bit of the signaling of improvement of affordability. I did not say that things were affordable. I did not say that things are affordable. One, I'm not placing a judgment on what is affordable and what is not affordable. There are some accepted formula that show what is typically, in economic terms, been affordable and not affordable. But nationwide, we're starting to see improving affordability. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean that house prices are coming down. And for everybody that complains about, oh, house prices need to come down, I counter with, do you want the value of your house, of your investment to come down? I don't think a lot of people do. Price increases have begun to slow, which means that wage increase is starting. It's not there, but it is starting to close that gap. Could that turn around next year, next month? Absolutely. Here is the data that backs it up. We're looking at home prices as a ratio to income, and we're looking at national data here. And we can see that in 2022, it peaked at about 5.5, what this chart is calling severely unaffordable. Home prices are more than 5 times income on a national average. We can see that has started in 24 and trending in 25 to come on a downward trend. Again, starting to come down. I did not say affordable. If we look at this chart, we can see that it is broken into 3 areas. Severely unaffordable, which is where we have been. Less affordable, which is where the chart goes back to, all the way back to 2010. And affordable. Affordable being home prices at 3 to 4 times income. So if your income, using round numbers here, is $100,000, then an affordable house would be $300,000. At less affordable, if you're making $100,000, then housing would be at $400,000, and then $100,000 income, a $500,000 home. These are all the same home, of course, that we're talking about. So this is just an illustration of what affordability is starting to do. Now, will it continue that way? Oh, we sure hope so, but there's, I was going to say, a chicken and egg problem here, but that's not quite right. The problem is, and we're going to start talking about mortgage rates to illustrate the problem. With flat prices, buyers might think, you know what? I'm going to wait for prices to go down a little bit more. I'm going to wait for APR to go down a little bit more. Perhaps they don't go down. Perhaps rates start to go up. But then we talk about mortgage rates. We've been living in the 6 to 7% rate on 30-year mortgages for the last year and a half, and it only dipped below the last year and a half, but all the way back to October of 23, it spiked up close to 8%. It was about 7.8%, and the last time that it was really below, that the mortgage rate was below 6%, was back for a sustained period of time, was back in September, October of 22. Now, what just happened? If you've been watching the news at all, we've seen mortgage rates dip below the 5% level. I have a live chart here. This is from Mortgage News Daily. Here's the 6% line. I am currently looking at 30-year fixed rate mortgages, and we're at about 6.01%. We're not quite below 6%, but for all intents and purposes, we're there. Now, If we go to 30-year FHA, and there are advantages and disadvantages to FHA, and not every house and not every buyer is going to be FHA approved, those are actually sitting below 6% at 5.7%. And then just for comparison, 30-year VA, if you're a veteran, I cannot overly emphasize the importance of exercising your access to your VA mortgage. Currently sitting, as of earlier today, 5.71% on a 30-year VA. So if you watch the news at all, why are these mortgage rates coming down? There have been some macroeconomic pressures that have slowly starting to ease that. We can see that we're living up at the 6.5% for the better part of 2025, and it's slowly started drifting down over the last half of the year, the last quarter of the year. Then suddenly we get this relatively big bump for the time period. There are what could generously be classified some factors in the news, in current events, that are driving that. It's entirely possible that some of those more controversial issues that are out there might bump it back the other way. Again, I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. I'm just saying, when things are as controversial as many things are right now, it really gets hard to make predictions. Predictions are based on rational data. So, continuing on, we have reached the point that nearly 20% of all mortgages have greater than a 6% rate. Why does that matter? It matters because if your rate is greater than 6% and the rate is 6% or in the neighborhood of 6%, it is not more for you to go out and get a mortgage on a new home. You're not locked in. Why is that? People might want to stay in their home, but sometimes people don't have a choice but to move. And I'm talking about people that get married, have babies, kids that go off to college, leaving empty nesters. You have divorce. You have people getting new jobs, maybe in a new city, maybe in a new state. Moving for school, for higher education. If you're in Greater Lafayette area, perhaps you're coming here to pursue a PhD at Purdue and you're going to be here for a number of years. Sometimes people are forced into moving. So nearly 20% of people now have a mortgage that is greater than 20%. The average rate of outstanding mortgages, and this is nationwide, is 4.5%, and the current market rate is 6.1, 6.2%. We are nearing that crossover where the bulk size of outstanding rate is going to be larger than the current rate. Here's the chart that I'm looking at that shows that. We're here at 4.5%, and this is the national average of outstanding mortgages. And then the current market rate, 6.2%. And we can see that this has been living in this opening here, a spread of 2 to 2.25%, 2.5%. We're not at the crossover. We can see that we had crossovers back in 2018, again in 2019, and again in 2022, heading the other way. We're not at a crossover yet, but we're headed there. This is all a lot of deep data. Like I said, this is a deep dive into what the market looks like and what it's going to possibly look like here in the Greater Lafayette area in 2026. Our days on market have been increasing. In Indiana, and this is for all of Indiana, it has been up to 61 days, just about a week and a couple of days shy of 10 weeks. At the peak in West Lafayette, it was 2 to 3 days. You could have your house listed on Friday and have it sold by Saturday or Sunday. That has stretched out. We're seeing more inventory on the market now than we have seen in a while. The total number of inventory is going up. However, that is largely being driven by the fact that houses are on the market for a bit longer than they have been. There are not more houses coming on the market at any one time. The input is staying at about the same rate. It is the output that is taking a little bit longer to move around. I expect to see that continuing for a good part of 2026 here in the Greater Lafayette area. Go to the LafayetteReal.com/YouTube, fill out the form, and I'll get back to you, and we'll work on it, the correct valuation for your home that you need to sell now before you can move into your next home, whether that's your next home here in the Greater Lafayette area or whether that's your home somewhere else in the country, somewhere a little warmer, maybe in Texas or Florida or California. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so that you don't miss a minute of content that we put out here on the channel.